evening. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, and this is the start of the Board of Selectmen meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start off with us joining in a moment of silence in remembrance of Keith Fontaine, who passed away over the weekend. Mr. Fontaine was a worker at the town's transfer station. He was hired back in September 2010 as a part-timer, and then he was promoted to full-time in July 2015. Mr. Fontaine was a valuable town employee for over 10 years, and he'll be sorely missed. Thank you. Laura, if you could take up the announcements, please.
Yes, certainly. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: Facebook Upkeep Committee, 200th Anniversary, Conservation Commission, Associate Members, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Economic Development, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, North River Commission, and Zoning Board Alternate. Applications for appointment and info on each of these committees are available on the town website, www.hanson-ma.gov. Reminder, Town of Hanson dog licenses are due by September 30th. That gives you pretty much until tomorrow. A late fee of $25 will be added to the dog license starting October 1st. Upcoming meetings: special town meeting this Saturday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. in the high school gymnasium. Please note, subject to change. The location is subject to change. Upcoming meetings: Board of Selectmen, October 13th, 2020, and Board of Selectmen, October 27th, 2020.
Excellent, thank you. So I stand corrected. Today is Tuesday, September 29th, so I'd like to thank the viewer that texted me in the last 30 seconds. That's pretty impressive. First thing on new business is town meeting preview. So what we're gonna do is, we went through all the articles last week pretty extensively, so we're just gonna run through the ones. We didn't have recommendations from the Finance Committee. And then there was a couple other questions on a couple of other articles. Other than that, I don't think there's any need to go through every single article, because like I said, we did that last week, and Beth is our only department head that is here with us. So, John, you want to go through, so there's one, so the CPC article, that one, they're going to be meeting tonight, you said, so we can vote on that before town meeting on Saturday. So town meeting is Saturday at 10 a.m. at Whitman Hanson inside the gym. So that one we can take up then. Looks like Finance Committee has recommended everything except for Article 4. So the Board of Selectmen, we voted 5-0 not to recommend Article 4, which is a school committee capital projects, $86,713. And the Finance Committee recommended that article. And I think, John, that's the one that Whitman's not going to the town meeting, so
Yes,
their half of the funds won't be available. So I think the board, Laura had started saying that, you know what, it doesn't really make sense now to vote on that article right now, because they're not gonna have the funds for it until their annual town meeting in the spring. So I think that, I'm not sure about finance. Everything else
They
looks.
didn't vote for 16 either, the tree warden. Do we have any insight on that?
Again, just talking with the chairman, Mr. Sullivan was saying that he thought that it would lead to more costs down the road when having to hire someone that had, was, well-versed in tree work and arboriculture, and that, it'll cost more to get someone like that on board. So it was kind of just a cost thing.
And I think, based on the conversations we had about that, we all agree that that's something definitely we're gonna look at and just see, you know, what the costs are, whether we could possibly share, you know, somebody from another town, but that's something that I think we want to take seriously and not lightly, so.
So, but to that point, Mr. Chair, I'm wondering, where we've got FinCom expressing this concern, and I know we all voted to recommend it, but do they have a point that once we put this ball in motion to make this an appointed position, if we do that without having the information about how much it's going to cost us, is there any way to back out of that? I mean, once we put that, once that goes forward, right, isn't it legislation? We've got, and I don't think we can pull it back once town meeting.
I never looked at the money part of it. I just looked at.
That's
the
what they're
appointing.
looking at,
I
yeah.
looked at the appointing part of it, you know?
Yeah, and we definitely all agree that we think that we want a
But
very
if we
qualified
pass over
person.
this article, we're still gonna be at elected.
We're still going to be at well, we're going to, yeah, that's a great point. So I guess maybe Kate would know
So it's
this.
kinda, I
That
think
Kate
it's
would
two
know this.
separate
For
things.
now, like, how long can we hold that appointment that's an elected position?
I think until the next election,
It's till the next election.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, Beth, I forgot you were there.
It's okay. You could actually put this article on the May town meeting too.
That's what I was thinking, is that would give us time to address their concerns about the cost, and we've already appointed somebody as an interim. I don't know.
Matt, before you go, Beth was just finishing something.
It's just, it'd be a moot point if it doesn't pass at town meeting.
Yep.
And you have to have it on the ballot because the ballots get printed before town meeting gets done. So it doesn't really make a difference. It's just, it would be on the ballot even if it didn't pass at town meeting.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just going to add on, John did some research and said that it's not as stringent as I thought it was at the last meeting, where it just says, as trained and experience, right, commensurates to a
Right.
certified.
It's chapter 41,
Yeah,
section.
guys, if you want me to jump in, I also looked into that too and kind of confirmed what John found, because essentially what it says is, you know, they have experience in arboriculture. This is undefined, right? This is a new term that came in 1996, apparently. And the DCR, which is the Department of, I forget what the second letter is. but it's
Conservation and
something
Recreation, Matt said.
And they made some recommendations, but they're not regulations, so they're not necessarily binding. So really the only binding thing is the pesticide application, which is a license that is issued by the Department of Ag, and it's like $200 to get one. You have to pass a test, but also pay $200.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so with that being said, I think it might be, you know, I mean, I'm looking at it as this way. If we move to, I mean, I know we're concerned about money, but with the rules as relaxed as they are, I think it would be smart to add this to the next highway director and just put it all in one position. Even though they may not be as qualified as a certified arborist, if the rules say that they just have to have the training,
Right.
a pesticide application, then I think that might be,
And I agree 100%, and then the other thing we could do is we could take that salary and combine that salary with the highway director and, you know,
I really
increase
like that because I think it addresses FinCom's concern, because they were thinking it was going to be more benefits, more money, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, but it's a position we already have. We have a unique opportunity right now to modify what that job description is, right?
Right.
And so whoever we hire, the next person, we can say upon hiring, if they don't have it already, we'd like you to get your pesticide
Yeah,
license.
I think we move forward with it. Yes, Greer, go ahead.
Mr. McLean, the interim highway director, was telling Mr. Stanbrook, excuse me.
Did you say Mr. Sanford? Fred G?
I don't address him formally normally, he's John to me. So, he was saying, he felt that in order to be more competitive, to get a really good qualified highway director, he thought that the current salary is on the low side, so if you added that salary into it, it would bump it
help
up
a
a
little.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So, are you guys okay with that? I say leave it. Beth?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think that was it. Beth, did you have anything that you wanted to add to our discussion about town meeting, or you think we'll be good for Saturday?
When did you guys decide to do it in the gymnasium? Last time I heard we were still doing out in the field, so it was, I know it was like
Last Tuesday,
Last week?
yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I thought I sent you an email on that.
Last
saying- You said
Tuesday.
you were available to go over it.
Right, but I still didn't know that that's, I know that was still the rain date thing. I didn't know it was the, we're actually looking at, I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, so what
I
we-
was just surprised.
So Beth, what happened was, in discussions with Ernie and going back and forth, if we did it outside, on the outside of the track, we're gonna need special chairs, which we don't have. Then, we could've had it where we had town meeting back in August, but the problem is, then we've gotta pay, we gotta get the speakers all out, and it just was turning into, I think, much more than we really wanted to do. So then Ernie started sending me pictures of the gymnasium where they have set up for, and John, correct me, right now, I believe 105 people, socially distanced, each with a desk and a chair. They could add an additional 15 or 20.
It's more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, and then also they could add chairs on the other side of the gym. So they basically took the gym, put it in half, and that's where the kids are having, not all the kids, but that's where 50% of the kids are having their cafeteria and eating, right there. And the speaker system's all set up. He's gonna have custodians there. So if 200 people show up on Saturday, because it's a beautiful day, and they wanna come out to our beautiful town meeting, we're gonna be all set. We just unfold chairs and we can set up for 150, 200. So that's kinda how it ended up. And it was probably a little bit forcing from me, so I probably take some of the blame.
All I wanna say is yay.
All right, good. And you know what? Your opinion is extremely important to us, so thank you, Beth.
Kenny,
Yes.
we did have a couple people express concerns about accessibility for elderly people, but I actually thought this setup would be more accessible than the outdoor one might have been for people.
Yeah?
So I just wanted
I
to,
think that would probably be easier getting in the
Yeah.
gym than out in the
I
field.
think so too.
Yeah.
And,
so-
and also, people were kind of questioning, well, is the gym gonna be clean, yada, yada. And I said, of course, the school has got a rigorous cleaning protocol, everything's gonna be absolutely spotless before anybody for a town
Yeah,
meeting
they
is
even,
going
they
in.
even have, Ernie said that all the schools even have, there's a solvent that they've been using in their HVA system. And I had the name last week, but it escapes me now. And they've been using that in their HVA system, which a lot of schools have been doing.
It's an I-Wave, and it's
I-Wave, thank you.
We're looking at it for here,
And
too.
it's an air
Yes.
purifier, and we're looking at it for all the town buildings. We've put out a request for quote.
Yes, I-Wave, so that's, they already currently have that in their system up there, so I was very comfortable talking with Ernie that, you know what, our kids have been going there for the past 2 weeks, at least, the kids are going to school, 2 days a week in there, so I was fine with it, you know. So does anybody else have any more questions about town meeting?
Just on the Board of Health, that was
Yes.
something from last week.
Oh, right.
Whether or not they were going to vote for the transfer station, that's Article 11, the 5 new compactors. They did meet and they did vote to approve that one. The Capital Improvement Committee also met and approved Articles 3 and 4. And the Community Preservation Committee is meeting tonight to, which one is that? That's Article 5, to approve the matching grant for Mass Trails.
Okay.
So those were all the things we talked about last week, I think.
Yeah, so it's just the community preservations one that we'll take up on Saturday morning. So any more questions? No? If not, we're good. Okay, thank you. So next.
Fun, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. Come back when you can stay longer. Library trustees, we're gonna wait because she's getting, Deb needs to be here, right? I can table that for a little while?
Should I jump off, guys, or are you gonna, was I just there?
Hold on 1 second. Vote to extend the restaurant. John, do we need?
You want to skip down to the YMCA one? That's something
Yes, yes. Okay,
Kate
under
did some
new
work
business,
on that.
consider the YMCA's offer to lease Needles Lodge for a day program. So Kate, I know, because I was on some emails, you were involved with that.
Yeah, So I wrote, so essentially Camp Kawani was approached to allow the YMCA to use the main lodge for a place for instruction for kids. Well, not really instruction, it's a place for them to go to remote learn. I believe that was what their intention was, and perhaps someone from the Recreation Commission is there and can speak to it, but I believe that was the intention. And they sent me what was named an agreement, but then it referenced the fact that it was a lease. I changed it all around and gave a new document calling it a license and all of that. But the interesting part about it is that, again, I think what they're intending to do is set up a place for remote learning. So where, for example, the kids are going to school Monday and Tuesday, might be off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is a place that the children can go. They hook up to the Wi-Fi, and there's someone there to help them, you know, if they get knocked off the internet or whatever. And the parents can then go to work. So the problem is, and the tricky piece is, this is allowed by executive order of the governor. It's Executive Order 49, and it's creating what's called a WELP. And there are all kinds of requirements on the town to approve a WELP. So this is more than just, yeah, I'm going to allow Camp Kawani to be rented out to a customer. So among the requirements are someone in the town has to be appointed or selected to manage and inspect the WELP. So that includes running queries on all of the employees. It includes a certification by the town that they've received from the Y, an indication that they're complying with all the health requirements, including face masks, et cetera, et cetera. So I sent you along a memo on the requirements, and if that's what they're doing, you have to also decide if you're happy to do the approval and inspection of that entity as a WELP. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but I guess, are you saying that the town is responsible for them complying with core requirements and all of that? Is it not possible for us to say, we're simply leasing you the property, and all of the requirements that apply to whatever it is that you're deciding to do, you are responsible, just as they are now, to make sure they've got queries and everything in effect that they have to comply with?
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing. There's a huge burden. I don't want to minimize the burden on the town, but there's a burden that's been placed on the town by this executive order to say, no, it's not the entity's requirement. And it's not just because you're licensing the property. Like, say you didn't have a property, there was a private, I don't know, a place, a wedding venue or something, and they were like, oh, I've got an idea. I'm going to rent this out to the YMCA so that the kids can go there and remote learn because we're not doing any weddings, you know, so private. You as the town would still have to inspect that WELP, even though it wasn't on your property. So what they have to do is, so the WELP, this is their responsibility. They need one staff member for every 13 kids. They need to have the query checks, and it specifically says conducted by your town, and it's query authority, which is sex offender registry, and the DCF welfare check for all staff members and volunteers and adults who will be around the children. Then you've got your regular kinds of inspections, your fire, lead paint inspection, and building inspection. Then the WELP has to ensure that all the kids are, age appropriate, attending public or private school, et cetera. And then the WELP has to attest in writing that it's going to follow the DESE health and safety guidance. So the real burden on you all is you doing the query checks and you ensuring that all the inspections are new and complete.
Okay, well, we do have a private business, though, that's doing this in town, that just got approved, I believe, for the same exact thing. And
I
worked,
can hear you, Laura, say it.
We-
Someone put my phone closer to her.
and I'm sorry, Matt, I'm gonna
No,
try
it's
not
all-
to
it's all
spray
good.
in your
It's all good.
direction. I really am trying to abide. We actually do have a private business that just got approved for usage for this, and I don't know that we fully appreciated that there was a liability that flowed to the town. They worked with our Board of Health and our building inspector to make sure that all of the appropriate documentation was in place.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part, and I was really surprised, and there was a lot of chatter on, I don't know what your site is, John, it's like the town administrator's town manager listserv, there's a lot of chatter on my listserv. It is a burden on the town. I'm not sure, did that entity get approval from DESI to actually open up?
So,
Yes,
John,
they did. They got, there's a separate group, like a subset of DESI, EEC.
Yeah.
That there was a woman that worked with these guys, that coordinated with our Board of Health agent and our building inspector, and signed off on all the documentation that was presented. And I think the Board of Health voted on it, and, they got a lot of support from the town to open, because of course it's a small business, and we wanted to try to help them be versatile during, the difficult times that everybody's facing right now with COVID. But what I'm hearing you say is this is is this a liability for the town, Kate? I mean, I don't want to overstate and be dramatic here,
No,
but.
I don't think it's a liability. It's just an obligation, an additional task. So I would be surprised. And again, this whole thing just rolled out. Obviously, it rolled out because school started open, so it makes sense it rolled out.
Right.
But I'm really surprised the EEC gave them the license without the town having done the quarry story, because that's right in the guidance that was provided by the state.
I know they had quarries done. I don't know that the town did it. It's a business that otherwise would have quarries anyway. So I know that they met it. I don't think that the town did it. Certainly, I think we can circle back with
does the
Board of
regulation
Health.
say, Kate, that the town has to do it?
Yeah, specifically.
It does.
No, the town did not do it because I'm the person who's certified
All right,
to
so we
do
probably
that.
need to circle back with Mr.
I mean,
Amato.
I thought it was a strange thing myself. As a matter of I won't tell you the whole drama, but I thought it was a strange thing myself, and I checked even the PowerPoint that the state put together for the town's benefit, and it was in there. So you know what I could do? If you're interested in approving the license, you could approve it contingent upon, and if this really, that is what the YMCA intends on doing, this remote learning place, right?
Yes, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
They're doing it.
So
in
what you could
other
do,
towns.
if you're interested in approving the license, you could approve it contingent upon me reaching out to EEC and ensuring that we can essentially outsource that to the private entity, as was done with this other entity the other day. Because maybe they decided it was too onerous, because my first thought was, who the heck has time to do that for however many staff members,
I
Well-
think it's more, it sounds like it's more than just the quarry. It's the inspections, like, we need to make sure, I don't know if I'm comfortable voting yet until we get more information on this. I certainly don't wanna hold it up, but, we are meeting on Saturday morning. I would wanna make sure the inspections, who's doing the inspections. You
yeah.
need to do the quarry, so I would feel, just me, I would feel more comfortable having our ducks in a row before we make any type of vote on this. But we could do it as quick as Saturday morning if we could, get more information between now and then. Go ahead, Matt.
Do we know how many students or children are going to be up at the camp in this program?
John,
It was up to 52 is what they were talking about when we met with them. so.
All right, and then my second, I have a couple of questions. And then, does Hanson get a preference? Like Hanson students get a preference to be up there? Or is this open up to all the communities around here and it's, any student can go here and we don't have a
good
preference?
question. I don't know the answer
I
to
don't
that.
believe there is a preference, but I could check.
All right, and then it says, they're gonna help with internet and whatnot, or help kids access the internet, do their
Right.
assignments.
I saw that,
There's an issue with the internet up there.
Yes.
It doesn't really work,
right.
so I don't wanna, are they aware that the internet doesn't work and having?
I thought it was one of the factors.
Ryan is working with,
Yeah.
to get,
So when
because
they
we know
approached
it's
us,
a problem.
Matt, that the internet was one of the kind of determining factors, whether they even wanted to camp out in Hanson, period, or not.
Right.
So John's had Ryan that's been all over it before.
Well, we funded, I can't think of the name, my brain is just gone, but didn't we fund a town meeting to put money to bring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're working on it.
Fiber
In
optic,
fact,
thank you,
the-
Matt,
the,
yeah, fiber.
The fiber optics is already
Yeah.
run.
Yeah,
It's already run there, but it's not, I don't believe it's functioning up and running.
Now it's just the building, we gotta get the building
Yeah.
Yeah.
to hook up to the.
So I
fiber.
think we should get more, I'm totally fine with putting this on the agenda for Saturday. I just think we just need a little bit, and Kate, you're gonna be there with us anyways. I think,
Yep.
me personally, I want some more information. Matt brought up a couple good questions. The other thing I saw in there, it says every 20 kids, you need a bathroom, a toilet, just stuff like that. So I think just a little bit more homework and, we certainly don't wanna hold it up. If we can, get the program up and running over there and help generate some revenue over there, we wanna do that, but we certainly wanna make sure and do it the right way. Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
And then I just have, I think this is great to be able to provide affordable daycare and a place for kids to go, especially with working families. But also too, I'm a little concerned too, in the sense of, we have other vendors up there that are there throughout the week. And as we get into the colder months, are we pushing current vendors out to, are we displacing them? And do we have a responsibility of making sure that they're happy as vendors here in the town of Hanson?
So the only vendor that I can answer to, and through John, or John, you're more than welcome to, is the yoga.
Yep,
The yoga is getting moved to the library during this,
to the library.
to the library, am I correct?
That was the
Yeah.
idea, yes.
Okay, because.
So that's the only vendor that I know about
I
now.
talked to Deb today, and she was under the assumption that she's being pushed out to the pavilion.
no, Diane had called me this morning, and I suggested she reach out to the library and the senior center, because I said they never use that community, and especially now, they're not using the community room.
Right, right.
So maybe it sounds like they were
Right,
able
so
to,
there's just some communication that will have to
Yeah.
happen there. But then also too, I'm a little bit surprised by, the compensation.
me too.
Because it's
Listen.
well, hold on, let me just finish my point here. Under this agreement, it's $2,500 for the
Yeah.
whole month plus 25% enrollment. Meanwhile, I know, I've been in these discussions with Recreation, we're charging $5,000 plus for a
Right.
wedding that's only 4 hours. We're charging $500 for a couple-hour family function, and they don't wanna go down on the wedding rate, and I understand, but at the same time too, they were concerned about breaking even.
Right.
Just, with a family function, or opening up for yoga, or opening up for music, nature and music, or the drama kids.
Yeah.
So,
So the first time, Matt, that was my first question. When I got this email a couple of weeks ago, I looked at it and I went, the exact same thing I said. And it looks like it's a take it or leave it type of deal. It's not the commission. The commission, we don't have that flexibility like we normally have. This is something that's, a little bit different, and it's one of those deals where, you know what, if we feel we're not being compensated enough, then we have to move on. But I question the exact same thing, and John, am I correct on that, it's as far as a compensation?
I mean, they didn't say take it or leave it.
I mean, is anything really take it or leave it? Where are they gonna find something like this with internet service and all the stuff we've got? Come on, I mean, there's gotta be some room for negotiation.
right, because.
You know what might be helpful for you guys too is if we reach out to the Y and say, okay, can you give us a little more information? For example, what are you going to charge these children, or the parents of these children, I guess I should
Okay,
say.
yeah, I think I get it.
What are you going to
So,
charge?
so this is something, we can't get all this done by Saturday. There's too many questions.
When were they wanting, what is the proposed start date?
As soon as possible, I would think.
September 21st.
Oh, so, what is today's date?
Today's the 29th.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So they already been in there for a week.
So in.
Have they really been in there?
Now, emphasize that you're
That's
joking.
good.
I
No,
was
no,
just
no,
gonna
I'm
say,
kidding.
you need to emphasize you're joking about
May I
that.
just tell you, if you look in your packet, there is a Whitman YMCA program section, and it says cohort B, full daycare, Monday and Tuesday, it's $100 per week. Cohort A, Thursday and Friday, full daycare, $100 for those 2 days. Wednesday, with limited enrollment, $50. So it's essentially $50 a day per child
Per child.
in Whitman.
It's $250 a week for a kid, times 4 weeks is $1,000 per kid.
Yeah,
So they're expecting, if we're getting 2,500, they're looking at 25 kids.
And if I may also add, Ryan McGonigal, the IT director, ballparked, because you have to run some exterior cabling outside the lodge into it, which would also require covering. He estimated, and he said he'd look into it to get more, accurate costs, but he said $4,000 to $5,000.
is that money we already voted at town meeting that he
No,
needs,
that's
or
additional.
additional
So that-
cost?
I mean, that might be something you consider, is if they want to run the program, that they pay for the cabling and Wi-Fi, setup.
And
Right.
it is eligible for the CARES Act money that is due by Friday.
It
The
is,
additional cabling.
it is?
We
Okay.
wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have COVID-19, so.
Okay, but
Right.
if it's due by Friday, then don't we need to talk, what action needs to?
So our intentions are due by Friday, we don't actually have to have it done by Friday. We have
Oh,
to
do
tell
you need
them.
us to vote that that's our intention, or
I
that's,
can
that's
put
what
it
I'm
on
trying to
the
say,
list.
but we don't really have the facts enough to say that we want to have the program, so,
I could put
Right.
it on and we could take it off if it doesn't happen.
Right.
I could put it on the list of things of our intentions.
Go ahead, Matt.
Then also too, I think we need to, and I've been asking for this for the last 3 years as I've been kind of pushing for a business plan out of recreation, is we need to understand how much does it cost to operate the lodge? That means heat, electricity, et cetera,
staff.
per day, and staff
Yeah.
as well, but per day, so we can figure out, are we gonna break even? If we're really concerned about money up at the lodge, and, under this agreement, they're not paying for the utilities, they're just paying for the space.
Right.
I would just wanna make sure that we're gonna break even with this deal. So I don't know if it's possible to get this information turned around real quick.
It's a lot of information.
You
in a
bring
short
up a
amount of
good
time.
point, though, because, if I might, they're going to be there in the winter, which we typically don't have the heat going full blast 5 days a week from 7 AM to 5 PM. That's gonna be a significant cost. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you it's gonna be a significant cost. And I'd be surprised if the $2,500 a month is even gonna cover our heating costs during the
The
winter.
other option we have is we can say no. If you guys are that adamant and
No,
you've got so
I would
much,
like to,
then-
I don't want to say no, but I'd love to say, cover the cost of the additional fiber optic stuff, and you need to pick up the heating costs during the winter, and then we'll settle for the $2,500 a month.
Is that what you guys wanna do? But then we still got all this other stuff
We
too.
still have that stuff she's going to answer for us for Saturday.
So John, can you reach out to the YMCA?
Well-
Please, go ahead, Mr. Takey.
Am I wrong with my math? We determined it was $50 a kid per day, $250 a week, so for one kid, it's $1,000 a month. Now, John said there's 52 kids.
Up to 52, we don't, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just say 50 to make the math easy. Is that $50,000, John, a month?
Yes.
And they want to give us 2,500
Yes.
of the 50,000 that they could possibly earn?
Assuming they're charging the same as Whitman, yes.
Well,
Okay, well, let's let's just assume they are, with that program that Greer read. They want to pay us a drop in a bucket, and they're going to make, if they get the 50 kids. If they only get half the kids, it's still 25,000.
Right.
And we're stuck paying the 5,000 to have the fiber optics done. The heat's going to be on. There is only 2 toilets in the lodge, so if they have more than 40, they have to open the bathhouse.
Right.
And there's plenty of toilets in there. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions there. And I get it. People need a place for their kids to go so that parents can go to work. But, you know, and Hanson wants to do their part, but not when the YMCA is going to make $40,000 a month, and we're making $2,500.
Right.
Chair,
Okay.
I would also like to point out, in that contract, though, it said, I believe the agreement, and Kate, correct me if I'm wrong, it was $2,500 per month, but then also a 25%, a 25% match.
No, that is
I
not
read-
the way
No?
it read.
Okay.
It is a month provided, so they've even hamstrung us. They may pay us less than 2,500, and I was going to suggest we get rid of that language, provided that at least 25% enrollment is achieved. So if their enrollment goes down, we're the ones that pay for it. And honestly, I don't think that this should all be on the town.
So if they
Like,
only have 10 kids, then they're
yeah,
saying that's
I
gonna go
agree
down.
with Jim. Look, if I was in this situation right now and I had little people, I'd probably be all into this kind of a program, or the program that Boss Academy put together, where you can have, you know, you're home, but you're not in the school, and you've got your kid having enrichment programs, and I think this is important. And I love the idea that Camp Kiwanis actually going to be used. I think that's amazing, because it brings more foot traffic in and it brings some revenue in. But I think there's a lot of pitfalls for the unwary here. I absolutely think we need to strike that language that says, as long as they get a 25% take-up rate. That's not on us, that's on them.
Right.
That means
I
we're
agree with
taking the
that.
whole risk. I also think, like I said, the fiber optics need to be on them, and I think they need to pay the heat, and then we can talk. I'd also like to see, John, can we reach out to our buddy in Whitman, Frank, and ask what the deal is Whitman struck with them? How much are they getting paid?
Okay.
Because I think we need to know, you know, did they negotiate a better deal? Are they getting more money? I don't know.
So, Greer, let's put this on the agenda for Saturday, just see what additional information we can come up with.
But we're supportive of this. I want to just emphasize, or at least I can say, I'm supportive of it, but the devil's in the details on the agreement we enter into with them.
Right.
I'm supportive of the idea,
Yes, yes.
not supportive of what we're going to get.
Well put, Jim. Yep.
I think it
Can I
in
circle
Whitman.
back with Cass so I know what I'm gonna do? I'm calling the EEC to discuss this whole bit about the Corey and Story and how we're getting around the approval, or if they're stuck on the town doing that service. And then, is it John who's gonna reach out to the YMCA
Yes,
and talk to them?
yes.
Okay, and then John's gonna contact the rec commission and get to Matt's concerns of how much does it cost to operate this facility and some of the logistics.
Yeah, at a minimum, the heat.
Okay, so my job for Saturday is the EEC.
Yes.
Okay,
And that's just on the Whitman one, it's at the First Congregational Church, so it isn't the town, so I don't know if Frank would know
Oh, okay.
what they pay.
They may be willing to tell us, you know, what they're paying.
But Whitman may not know, you may have to call the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call the church.
Right, okay. Anything else on this? All right, Kate, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
thanks,
Do
guys.
you need,
I'll see
John, do you need Kate for
Saturday.
anything else?
Thanks, Kate.
Do you want her to be on the outdoor table and alcohol license, that number 5, real quickly? or-
Yes. Yo, hold on, Kate. We're gonna move to that and then we'll go back to the library. Vote to extend the restaurant temporary outdoor table and alcohol license. So Kate, do you know anything about that? We have to extend the, oh, I think she's gone. Kate? Yeah, she's gone.
She said she was gonna sign.
So John, what do we know about that? That's item 5.
So this is one where the governor's allowed you to extend the, thank you, The governor's allowed us to extend it. The outside stuff was supposed to end on October 31st with all the restaurants, but the governor's allowed to extend it from November 1st, 2020, up to and until 60 days after the governor ends the state of emergency. So and the extensions would automatically go to all licensees. So that, just, you know, if you'd like to do that, you need to vote that, to extend it to, per the governor's order, order number 50. Sorry, number 35.
Yes, number 35, November 1st, 2020, for any period in up to, until 60 days after the end of the state of emergency.
Right.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Did we get a second? I'm just.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Can we discuss just a second?
Yes,
I thought you
absolutely.
said something.
Just my question, it's like, so what we're saying is temporary outdoor dining can go on for 2 more years, if that's what it takes, till the governor ends the state of emergency, which I'm fine with. It's like they've got things
Yep.
planned. It's not gonna happen all winter anyway.
Right.
But what is alcohol licenses, meaning they can serve outdoors?
Yes,
And that's all it's doing?
yes.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with us issuing alcohol licenses?
No, it's just, remember when we originally extended this, you've got to do the alcohol license too. And to be honest with you, I am absolutely petrified of how these restaurants are going to survive as this outdoor dining starts rolling back, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable going into the restaurants. And yes, they've got the takeout, but you don't get the booze sales with the takeout, and that's a big moneymaker for these restaurants. So if they can put heaters outside, whatever, awnings, and comply with the regulations, then I'm all for it if it means they're gonna
At
get
least it
more
gives them the
business.
option if they choose.
Yep.
I'm there, I just
Yep.
wasn't clear on the alcohol license.
Yeah,
Any more questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay. So next up, the library trustees. New and renovated library project. How are you ladies doing? So who wants to speak first about your project?
So I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So you should have received a letter from myself and the trustees. I don't know if you had time to read it or not, but we want to just emphasize our interest in preserving some of Plymouth County Hospital and Pequon land as possible sites for a new library. As you know, we did a study and determined that the current building is not sufficient to meet the needs of residents for library services. So based on our building program, we would need a building of approximately 16,000 square feet, which is about double the space that the library has now. So we are requesting that before any development plan is adopted for either property, we're provided with a purchase or lease option to consider. And then we'd also like to ask if one of the members of the trustees could be appointed to the reuse committees for both Plymouth County and for Pequon. I know you discussed at one of your recent meetings that you'd like to see a comprehensive plan for both of those properties, and we're in agreement with that. So that's what we're requesting going forward.
so may I, Mr. Chair? I really, you guys know I'm supportive of this, and I really want the senior center and you guys to get everything you need, because I think you're both underserved. That said, we're in a weird position with that Pequon building, because we already issued an RFP, and they've put it out to bid, and I don't know what's gonna come back, but if what you're asking is, can we have you guys almost like, I don't wanna say bid on it, but like have a say before we make a final decision? I don't know, I'd have to have John look, you know, work with Kate to look at the RFP language and the contract we entered into. I absolutely have no problem, the more the merrier. If somebody wants to appoint, I think we'll have to take an official vote to change the membership on both Pequon and Plymouth County Hospital
Yes.
to include them, but I have no,
Not unless there's open seats on there.
yeah, no, there aren't, but I've got no issue with having somebody participate. I'd love it.
Corinne,
Yes. Okay, well,
just state your name, you guys, just,
Corinne
yes, your
Capato.
name and record, just for the audience, thank you.
Corinne Capato, 73 Winslow Drive, Chair Trustee, the Hanson Public Library. In the letter here, we state that we'd like to be more included in what's going to happen, and that in the end, we would like to be part of the development plan that's adopted and basically let us know first, pretty much. You know, I think everyone knows, but if those watching don't know, we're making it perfectly clear, we need a new library. The current library is too small to service the residents of the town of Hanson. We have spoken with Mary Collins, the director of the senior center, and she has, at a trustees meeting, noted that if we got a new building, she would be very happy with taking over the library. Granted, accommodations would have to be made. So pretty much we want to be part of the conversation. I am the trustee that has unlimited free time. I have been already attending the Plymouth County Hospital meetings. I would like to continue to do so, as well as the McQuon Reuse Committee.
So you'd like to be appointed?
Yes.
Okay,
both.
yeah.
Because I have the free time.
Well, it probably makes sense anyway. I mean, to be honest with you, where we're at is they're issuing that RFP. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of take-up, but what we had to go through, and I know I went to one of your trustees meetings, I've talked to both of you guys about this ad nauseum. I think we had to go through the process so that we could say in full faith and confidence to the citizens of Hanson, we tried to reuse that building before it came down. We really tried. You know, we went out, we asked brokers to see if anybody was interested. I don't think that we're going to have somebody say, because the terms of the RFP are very specific. I'm like killing myself here. And what the terms say is, we're not doing anything to that building. We're not improving the septic. We're not tearing it down for you. We're not, like, you take it as is and you tell us how you're going to make money for the town doing that with a lease. So we're absolutely not going to sell it. So that's for sure. And then we'll see if somebody comes back based on those conditions, which may not be super appealing to, you know, builder, but maybe they will be. But yeah, we can definitely loop you in as long as we just take a vote to, I mean, you can obviously participate anyway, whether you're but I'd love it very much for somebody to be a formal part of the committee.
Also, when we get the grant, there's, I mean, some steps we have to go through. We have to get a project manager and get an architect. So, but one thing, the MBLC does reimburse approximately 50%, and that will include taking down the building.
Oh, so.
If there's hazardous material within the building,
Yep.
it will be taken care of.
That's interesting.
If there's something going on around, it's town property, you will need to take care of that.
That is very good to know,
I
Corinne.
think that's very generous.
As long as you're gonna put a library in that.
No, it's definitely, definitely more than generous, because I hadn't anticipated that. Now, the last time I met with you ladies, and I believe that this has changed, so can you confirm? There was about a 5-year wait to get into that grant process.
Yeah, I actually spoke with the building specialist a couple weeks ago at the Mass Board of Library Commissioners.
Yeah.
So I can give you kind of an update. So they said that the current construction bond is $115 million. They've requested $250 million. But it is enough to cover all the libraries that are on the waiting list, which is 17. And the main driver for a new grant round is going to be what those libraries do, so whether they go forward with their projects or drop out. If a lot of them don't drop out, then they are going to have to request another bond. There won't be enough funds to fund another construction grant round, so that's going to kind of push things out further. But if a lot of them do drop out, then there will be some money from that current bond fund to fund a new construction grant. So it's very, she said her best estimate for a time frame was 2 to 8 years, which is a pretty big range, but it's very dependent on what those libraries on the waiting list do.
Okay.
And we probably feel confident we're more towards the, probably 5.
Yeah, it's a little more promising than some of those we have.
All right, so it's still, it's still a waiting list, but yeah.
Right, there is a waiting list, but, the fact that many libraries do then drop out, could be to our advantage.
So why would a library drop out? Just curious.
Various reasons, like they don't get the town funding.
Yep.
It's typically a quarter to a third dropout, so with
Okay.
things being very uncertain, it could be more than that in these times. but we don't know, that's the.
And I mean, is one of the things you guys are thinking about almost a community center component to that? Because I know you kind of went over, it isn't your, and I'm not dismissing what the libraries have been historically, and I've told you guys a million times, my grandmother was a librarian, I'm a huge fan. But the libraries really have become a whole center of community now and are offering so much more than just checking out books. You know, there's classes, there's online things, there's all kinds of materials you're checking out and all of that. And so, I mean, this is my long-winded way of saying, if people are thinking, oh, you know, a new library just to put books, like, is that what we really need? This is really like a community, I would really call it a community center. I know it's a library, but that's what I would really call it, is a community center. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, definitely, that's, you know, that's where kind of libraries are going now, being a place where people can have meetings, they can, you know, find information, you know, still check out books, still do the typical things the libraries are known for, but kind of moving it forward with kind of what, you know, keeping up with technology and all that stuff. So that's definitely incorporated into our plan.
Okay.
Right, we're also, you know, we're gonna have, well, a children's center, obviously, but expand what we have. A teen center, it's called what's the book called?
Tweens.
In the middle. Tweens, yeah, in the middle is our tween group. And then like a little children's area where they can use the computer and everything and people work with them. But right now, when we have a lecture, an author come to talk, we're limited to 75 people. Well, we turn away people. For a lot of the authors, we have to turn away residents because we don't have enough space. Ideally, a room like that you need is about 200, maybe a little more. But like our community room, nonprofit groups can use it. But again, 35 people. You know, so the advantage, you know, it will be that others can use it, but it's not. I think, Laura, when you and I went to, or Karen too, to McQuon to look at the building, you know, we thought keeping the gym and you could have basketball and all that. We're not having that.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. That would be a three-ring circus for you guys.
Right.
So, Mr. Mitchell, I think at some point we'll have to take a vote to add these guys onto those two respective committees that they asked.
In the meantime, I think keep going to them and stay involved, and we'll have to figure out a way to get them, have to look at the numbers. You know?
So can we possibly post that to one of our next meetings to take a vote on adding, I mean, or
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't know, I mean, it might fall under this meeting because we were talking to them about it.
We just have to look at how many we have and, you know, because we usually have an odd number of or maybe we can do an alternate member or something, but yes, we can absolutely put that on agenda to discuss for both, absolutely. Just, Greer, you have to just remind me.
Are you looking for how many voting members versus like sometimes?
Yeah, we'll
like
just.
a board will have a representative who doesn't vote but represents.
Right, so if the board has 7 members on there, do we want to have 8 or do we want to have an alternate? We'll have that discussion and just and try to figure out how to get them more involved in that process. Deb, go ahead.
So my question is, will the grant pay for an addition to the existing library, or does it have to be a new building?
No, it'll pay for like renovations, additions.
It's, if the building is feasible for renovation.
So given that there, maybe we could take some property from the McQuon School, add it to the existing site,
Right.
and add on what you need, because I definitely agree that both the senior center and the library need more space, and they're wonderful things within the town. And that location is really a nice location for those services. So sort of a backup plan if something does come through with the RFP from McQuon reuse, is that we break off a piece there and make sure that you have room.
Yeah.
Because I think the park is fairly far down the road in their planning, and there really isn't, I don't think putting the library up there may not be a real option at this point.
Yeah, our preference would definitely be to stay in the areas
Yeah.
we're in rather than Plymouth County, but we just want to keep our options open.
The only issue with the current building with the senior center, we're 8,000, they're 3,000, so that gives you 11, so we need, say, 5,000 or 6,000 more. When
I don't know how many years ago off the top of my head, when the departments were cut. And last year Kevin Sullivan said they were all back up. Well, they were all back up except for the library. We still didn't get all our hours back, which is staffing. That means we would have to staff down the other end. So monitoring the building, that's really stretching out the current staff we have. Because you need to have at least 2 to 3 people at the other end. Yes, oh, Matt, sorry.
Mr. Chair, I think it would be appropriate, I mean, I always like to have Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. And with the request to try and get up at Plymouth County Hospital, I think it's feasible with our planning, just looking at the layout, if we just said, all right, how many square feet do you need for your building? And we'll try to fit that square, rectangle, circle, whatever you prefer to have, towards some parking and just, have a ghost spot. I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the whole committee. But I think it would be feasible to say, all right, here's a square for, a future library, or, who knows what comes down the line. Okay, here's an envelope for a future public building up there.
You're saying just sort of like reserve, not hardcore like planning, but just like, hey, let's try to put this aside in case something.
Right. Here's the 20,000 square feet that we need, or whatever you may need, and just put a square, rectangle, whatever, and just say, all right, kind of save this area, or keep in mind, or don't put any hard infrastructure, as Laura was saying, right there. And just kind of have it,
I think the other thing, hold on, Don, at some point, you're gonna need a feasibility study too, to have somebody come in and look at the whole operation and see if it's feasible to add on 5,000-6,000 square feet to your existing, or tear it down, build a new one, and the cost and everything, once you get to that point, that'll be something that you have to do. Ms. Dallas,
One of the,
state your name and your address for the record, please.
Donald Ellis, 742 High Street.
Thank you.
One of the things, when you came to the board, not the board, the committee, and you discussed it with us, and we're more than willing to try and work with her, but the biggest obstacle that she had, that she mentioned, was it has to have its own a separate septic system. It can't be combined, and that's an issue up there, because there's nothing up there that will perk. So you should keep that in mind also. So I don't know what you can do, but that's been the issue on the top of the hill there, that it's just no permeable material. All the other stuff is down the end of the hill, and there's a big septic system that's for the county hospital that we're all tied into, that works and everything, but that's the only where it perks and suitable, and it is a suitable system. It passed Title V. We had an inspection done with the Board of Health. So I'd just like to point that back out again, because it'd probably be low on your list. The other thing is it has no sidewalks for people to walk to get up there at this point. We've been trying for years to get sidewalks in the town to make that complete circle from going down Main Street, coming up High Street, because you got the train there. The people would walk to the train in this time of year and so on. And it would make it nice, but to try and get the money out of the government, which I've been to DOT meetings numerous every year, and the only thing good we've got is the complete street program to get monies from the state to be able to do projects like that. But we have priorities on the projects that we're getting now to upgrade the intersections for the school children and people to walk across. There's no crossing signals and stuff like that. That's what Debbie's working on now. So.
Okay. Yes.
I'm sure you guys will remember, and this Plymouth County Reuse Committee was called the final Plymouth County Reuse Committee, because prior iterations had in fact looked at putting the library up at High Street, and they ran into exactly what Mr. Ellis just articulated, which was that soil has got issues for septic, and it would be quite difficult and costly, if even possible. And I think that was why the Barron Partners, right, ended up, I really hate to like invoke that name, but why they ended up leaving was because in part, when they figured out what it would cost to put in a septic and what would be required, it was very cost, and, it was very cost prohibitive for them. So, but it wouldn't hurt to just sort of say, hey, we'll just kind of,
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when this building, our current library was built, it was built with less parking spaces than it really required. So that's another issue, you need about 150 parking spaces. I mean, it's, we are in COVID now, so it's not up to the 100% activity it's been, but we have children's, so many things going on every single day. We've been basically, the town's funding all the entertainment, so to speak, for a lot of children and adults too. So.
and I saw you guys have got the Cracker Barrel, you're bringing back the old Cracker Barrel, and then the chair yoga for the seniors, not you guys, but the seniors are, so now they're starting back up again, so I think, there's a lot happening there.
And we're having our
Yeah.
alternative open house on November 14th this year. It'll be outside.
Oh, okay.
So, we'll give a notice for that, but, so we're working on that right now because at least a couple hundred people come every year. We can't have the they're not really speakers, the entertainers for the children, but we're doing something, so.
Okay, good, so we'll get you guys on the agenda, Corinne, to try to figure out a way to get you involved more on the meetings and stuff.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and then just keep us updated and we'll do everything that we possibly can, because we do absolutely support you guys and everything you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right, and thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Keno application at Smoke and Ashes Tobacco, 270 Main Street. Now, I never ever remember anything to do with the lottery coming to us. I'm just curious why this is on here, John.
So this is one where, if we have any if we have any objections to this Keno license, we have to say it in writing. Didn't know whether in other places that I know about, that comes before the board of.
Probably everybody's already had them, Kenny, because most of these places have had licenses and just transferred it from the next owner to,
Yeah, this is a new one that, Gil Amato, the Board of Health agent, has been down there. I believe the building inspector was there as well. They didn't have any issues with.
And just to clarify, does the town get anything? I mean, I know everybody gets something from the lottery, but does the town get anything additional for the number of lottery machines we have?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
We get a cut of lottery.
Okay, good, Jim.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I actually stopped in there yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I was down at Hanson Tire getting one of my tires fixed. We actually talked
Yes,
about
that's
that.
right.
And it was so close that I decided to go in. And I spoke to a lady that was working there. They had it before,
Okay,
and they somehow lost it. So now they're applying for it again. And when they had it before, I asked what the plan was. She's not the owner, she's
Okay.
only an employee.
okay.
Because usually when people play Keno, they would sit at a table like
Yeah,
that.
you see that in stores.
And,
And they're watching the thing.
yeah, and their walls, all the way down around and to the other side, is all covered, with merchandise.
Yeah.
So I don't know where what their plan is to put tables in.
I wonder if it was the same name. Has it been the same name?
No, I think it used to be like Brennan's, I don't know if it was Brennan's Smoke Shop, it was a different name. I don't-
Right.
Name,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, it
wondering,
was
maybe the
Brennan's.
Keno was under a different name.
And it could have been, and when they changed business, that's maybe how it got taken away, but I have no idea. But my point being is, they don't want people inside, milling around playing Keno. You're inviting,
Seems like it's gonna attract people by putting a Keno.
right.
Well,
I don't-
and that's a crazy, I don't, if you guys have, so I use the dry cleaner
Yeah,
there.
that's it.
And I mean, it's like you're taking your life in your hands,
Yeah.
honestly, backing out of there
You got
already.
all the dry
Yeah,
cleaners.
yeah, you
Right.
really are.
Unless you have a Domino's on your top of your car, it's very difficult. But, yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem. Like I said, I've never seen anything on our board to do with lottery at all, so that's why I was just
Yeah.
more curious. But, it's a business in town as far as I'm concerned, and hey, you know.
Anything to help a
Maybe
business.
it's gonna produce
Yep.
another millionaire and,
Yeah.
and he's gonna buy another business in town.
But
So-
is there a way for, to your point though, Jim, is there a way for us to have Mr. Amato or somebody just say, look, we need you to minimize the number of people lingering?
Why is the health agent involved with lottery? That's my.
I just
No,
had,
it was a social distancing.
I had him go down there to make sure that if someone did sit at a table,
Yeah.
was it
Oh,
socially
okay, so with the
distanced?
social distance with, so that's kinda what Jim is getting at, right,
He's very
okay.
Yeah.
comfortable with them,
Yeah,
you know.
He said he was comfortable?
Very.
Okay.
Okay,
Then-
alright,
So,
okay, good.
are we looking for a motion? or-
Yes, please.
I move that we accept the lottery license for, Keno license for Smoke and Ashes Tobacco.
So, second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, next, we have a request to use the town green on October 10th at noon for Rosary. What is Rosary?
The Rosary.
Rosary.
To say the rosary.
Yes.
St. Joseph's would like to
Oh,
add
that
their own
Rosary. That's what I
agreement.
thought, but it just
They
seemed.
do it every year, and
Okay.
they asked if they could do it on October the 10th.
Okay.
At noon time, and in the event of inclement weather, that they move to the Thomas Mill. I called Marcus Lynn today, he referred me to another lady, Arlene Quimby Veritas.
Yep.
Thank you, and she's doing the bookings, but
Okay.
it's not clear whether the Board of Health will allow
Right.
people in there yet, so this would have
Okay.
to be contingent, the backup plan contingent on the Board of Health approving.
Well, isn't this all contingent upon them complying with the current health regulations? So including outside, they
Oh,
need to
absolutely,
distance and.
yeah.
Okay. I move that we, that we accept this request to use the town green on October 10th. In terms of the Thomas Mill as a backup, I'm a little nervous about that. It's a very small space, and I don't know how many people they're expecting, but, is it a possibility that we might be able to offer, I don't know, like the pavilion up at Camp Kawani or something bigger? I don't know. It isn't? Okay. I'm spatially challenged.
Can I
Mr.
get a
Boss.
second on Laura's motion?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Thanks, Matt. Next up, Town Administrator Report, Mr. Stanbrook.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I just have three quick things. The CARES Act update, I mentioned earlier that this Friday is the last day to submit to the county what we're going to, what we potentially may spend of our money that we got from COVID-19 related costs from the county. So the amount that we got in an allotment so far that we've received is 1.4 million. I'm rounding the numbers off. We submitted submission number 1 a couple months ago for $34,280, and that's in the queue to be paid. We just submitted another submission last week, and that was for $228,000. And today we, again, I'm saying we, as Todd Hassett is doing the yeoman's work, again, coming up with these things. He and I worked on a submission number 3 from the school. This is the first submission from the school of $431,500, of which $172,700 will be Hanson's portion. And then again, by Friday, we need to set aside money that we think we might be able to spend by the end of the year, actually December 30th, it's not December 31st. And as a placeholder for right now, I've got an additional $830,000 that I think we can spend, which would mean we'd end up turning back, if this ends up being accurate, of about $180,000 of that $1.4 million. Again, that may or may not happen depending on some of these things that I have on as a placeholder, but at least I'm going to put that placeholder amount into the county so they'll hold our money.
John,
Yes.
do we know if the schools submitted, because I know surrounding towns have, and I know that these are very much needed, do we know if they submitted to get Chromebooks for every student through the CARES Act?
I believe they have, but I think that's going to be on their list of things that they're going to put forward to me as a placeholder.
Okay.
Because it's back, you know, you can't get them, they're on back order.
Yes, yes,
You know,
yeah.
100 billion of them
Yeah.
are back ordered. So John Tuffy at the regional school district is going to be getting me by tomorrow, I believe, his amount for this hold. And I believe that's in that amount.
All right, good, thank you.
So that's what's happening there on that one. So again, there were 2 complaints that I've received on Conservation Commission-related things that we can, not for tonight's discussion, but just they were in your packet so that I've notified you of them. We can talk about it at a later meeting after you read the documents that are in there. And then finally, today, the school got their certified, their 2020 equivalent of the town's free cash amount. It's called, in a regional school district, it's called Excess and Deficiency Fund. So their amount was certified by the Department of Revenue as $609,182. And again, that's their equivalent of free cash that they can spend on things. And just for comparisons, last year it was $605,342. So it's about the same as it was last year. And that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, John. Next up, approve July 7th, 2020 meeting minutes. You
So
guys have
moved.
a
Second.
chance to look at them? I guess so. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, so that's the end of our regular meeting, and we'll be going into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And the second reason is to discuss strategy with respect to the collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body and the chair so declares. So we'll be going to executive session and only exiting executive session to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, we are now in executive session. Thank you.